a little more slides on anxiety than other emotions. Anxiety is hydra-headed, as we call it. It is the necessary feeling for survival. At the same time, it is triggered in so many different situations, and the ways to handle anxiety are also very, very different. So, all right. I do not know whether we should be taking pictures of this. But yeah. Okay. So we learn one feeling at a time. What we call as burnout is a combination of a variety of feelings, and mostly this is unhealthy anger and anxiety. This is what we call as stress. Stress and burnout are vague labels, and if we dissect them into specific feelings, so these are the feelings that we were talking about. So we already discussed where does the stress come from. Let's talk about the most I would say addictive feeling, anger. Is anger good or bad? Controlled anger is good. Yes. You don't want to be angry at all, right? Okay. No anger at all. So about no anger, let me tell you one story. So there was this snake who was living in Bombay. No, not Bombay. he was living in a small village, and he went up to Gyani Baba one day, and he said, "Baba ji, मैं आपके शरण में आया हूँ. A lot of people just beat me up for no reason." And he said, like, because you keep biting people, they will beat you. So stop biting people. So all right, so whatever you say, I'll do that. So he goes back, and 1 month later he comes back and says the same thing. Now people have started beating me up even more. So then he says, last time I couldn't give you time. Now tell me what exactly is happening. And he says, this was happening, and now this is happening. So the Babaji says, I asked you to stop biting people. I didn't ask you to stop hissing at people. So he had stopped hissing as well. And this is how I think probably unhealthy anger and healthy anger are two different things. There is something called as healthy anger. There is something called as unhealthy anger. So we wouldn't say all anger is bad or unhelpful, but there is a variety of anger that's helpful. So let's look into the differences between healthy and unhealthy anger. The first difference between healthy and unhealthy anger is that unhealthy anger is out of proportion. So imagine that my son broke the iPad, and I say to him that, नहीं बेटा ऐसा नहीं करते. अच्छा इतना बड़ा iPad लेके गया तो मैं तुम्हें ब्रेक कर दिया. चलो कोई बात नहीं. We'll get another iPad in the evening. Do you think my anger was healthy? I should be loving to my children, right? So it was not even sufficient to pass on a message, right? And then I say that now I'm going to break your bones. You will learn for your life how to take care of your belongings. Now, is this anger healthy? This is also not healthy. So, it is out of proportion, either too little or too much. This is the first thing about unhealthy anger. Then the second difference is about the intention of anger. Unhealthy anger is aimed at punishment. That I am going to teach you a lesson. I am going to make you suffer for it, right? However, people are not always ready to learn a lesson. Imagine something happening on the streets, a road rage scenario where you want to teach a lesson to the other person, but the other person also wants to teach you a lesson. And then nobody learns a lesson, finally end up in a brawl, right? Or intimidating others, like I want to establish my power over you. This is the purpose of unhealthy anger. We say that punishment and intimidation does not teach a new skill to the other person. So they do not know how to act differently. That's the problem with unhealthy anger. It's also displaced on a third party. You are upset with one person and anger, as we call it in Marathi. So you vent out your anger on someone else. So something happened in the office, and then you vent out your anger at home, and then the next morning something happens at home, and then you vent out your anger here. So this is displacement, and that's typically unhealthy anger. It is very distressing. Unhealthy anger can be so distressing that people feel in anger, and it can be very long-lasting as well. If you look at research, the average duration of anger in adults is 1 week. So they hold on to anger for a week, not just a few seconds or few minutes. Because some people hold on to anger for just a few minutes, and others hold on to anger for years together. I still have a Mausi who is upset with her daughter for marrying a person out of caste, and she has still not spoken to her in the last 20 years. I mean, that is the level of anger some people hold on to for years and years and years together. So it is very distressing. Healthy anger is not so distressing. It damages relationships. Many times I see clients who, husband and wife, they tell about each other that my anger is not like his or her anger. I just vent out anger in 1 minute, and then I don't hold on to anger like him or her. He or she holds on to anger for weeks together, but my anger is healthy. I say no, it's not necessarily healthy just because it's short lasting. The other person narrates that in that 1 minute they do so much of damage that cannot be repaired. They say such mean things in those 1 minute that I can never pardon them for what they say. So just because it's 1 minute does not mean that it's healthy. Right? It damages relationships. It is associated with aggression, either physical aggression, hitting someone, banging doors, taking mobile phones, or verbal aggression like abusing, or passive aggression, saying non-cooperation. This is something that is unhealthy anger. It's harmful. We have very clear links of anger with heart disease and heart attacks. So people who are consistently angry, whether expressed or suppressed, does not matter. If it is healthy, it is unhealthy, then it is going to increase your risk of heart disease. So similarly, we have link of depression with cancer. We have a link of anger with heart disease. It's expressed without consideration that if I express my anger now, is it going to be helpful? Is this the right time to express? Is this the right mood to express? You will not consider these things while expressing unhealthy anger. On the other hand, the most important aspect is impulsive. It's knee-jerk reaction to something that has happened. It's not something that is well thought of, that I'm going to talk to this person in this specific way. It's a knee-jerk, quick reaction, impulsive. That's the major differences between healthy and unhealthy anger. Healthy anger is, again, it's proportionate. The aim is corrective and preventive. For example, if you have done this mistake, this is how you should be doing it, not this way. So it's educated. You teach them this is how it should be done. It's preventive and corrective, not displaced on a third party, same person. You will not keep moving from one person to other. Not so distressing, does not damage relationships. It's associated with assertion. Assertion means kind and firm disapproval of what the other person has done. Kind, firm disapproval plus an alternative way of acting. I would prefer you to act this way. So I wish we had more time about assertion, but this is a brief, quick introduction to assertion. Does not harm you, harm your body, and expressed with consideration, and it's non-impulsive. Let's look into the triggers of anger. What triggers our anger most? The first most important trigger to anger is your goal is blocked. So whenever your personal goal is blocked, whether you want to meet a specific person, or it's a professional goal, or it's a goal in relationships, or whether it's simply, you want to entertain yourself with a mobile phone or let's say a game, and then someone blocks that goal, you are going to get angry. Imagine you getting stuck in traffic jam and you have an important meeting to attend that you really look forward to. You will definitely be angry at the person who is blocking you in front of you, right? So that's the first trigger to anger. The second important trigger to anger is when your public image is at stake. So let's say that your reputation in the department, somebody threatens it that I'm going to tell this to this person. You're going to first feel anxious, a little worried, and then angry at this person for putting you into this situation, right? So when your reputation is at stake, you are likely to get angry. The third reason is the basic purpose of anger is saving your life. So let's say that there's a predator, a tiger, or any predator that attacks you, and there is no way you can run away from this predator, and you have a weapon. you will have to be very angry to be able to kill that predator, right? So anger will shoot up your blood pressure, tighten your muscles, and block your empathy as well. Imagine you were empathetic towards a tiger, and you might start thinking, you may have small cubs, right? I will not kill you, because the cubs will suffer. So then the tiger will eat you up. So empathy needs to be killed when you are angry, and that is when you will probably survive. As a matter of fact, we are descendants of those people uh, who were angry and killed predators rather than who were not angry and got killed by predators. So people who were not angry got eliminated. So by natural selection, as you probably know. So we have survived because of anger. Another trigger to anger is when someone breaks your personal rule. You may have any personal rule. For example, my rule may be, if I have been kind and fair to people, then others also must be fair to me. I may have a personal rule that if you want to give me a feedback, then it must be given privately, not publicly. And if someone breaks this rule, I'm going to be very angry at them. Right? So everyone has these personal rules, and the more personal rules you have, the more triggers you will have about anger. Right? The more frequently you will get angry. And the last is when there is discomfort. Imagine if there was a lot of noise going on outside, and this was hot, very hot weather, right? And it was overcrowded, and you already did not have your lunch, you are already in a lot of distress, right? And then somebody steps on your foot. You will be very angry. That person is gone. So whenever there is a lot of distress, just like we are locals, when there is a lot of distress, you are more likely to get angry, right? Children know this, right? So when we are in a bad mood, they don't ask for favors, right? Hey, mommy, papa, gusse mein abhi nahi puchte. So they know our decisions also change when we are angry. So physical distress, emotional distress will make it more likely that you are angry. Therefore, that's why we have air conditioners, so that we can work in a comfortable environment and mood remains better, right? So I think distress, any distress, be it hunger, be it noise, be it pollution, is going to make you more irritable. So how to deal with anger? Now, this is about personal rules. So there was this 35-year-old man who was referred to me for therapy because he had a heart attack, and then his cardiologist said that you have anger issues that must be addressed. And he was angry at perpetually everything. He had this rule that everything must be my way. Each and everything must be my way. And because things were not his way, he used to get snappy at people, like not just his wife, his children, but everyone at work. And this, not that he enjoyed getting angry, but he was very, very angry at everything. So after establishing a good therapeutic relationship and all, so I asked him to imagine that he's standing on a bridge and he's God. He's not himself, he's God. And then I asked him to imagine that if people pass under the bridge, he can read their minds and he can also make their wishes come true. So he's like, okay, fine, let me go ahead. So I asked him, what will you do if there was a small boy who passed under the bridge and he has two balloons, a red balloon and a green balloon, and he wishes that I wish I had a blue balloon as well. What will you do? I'll do this and make his wish come true. Wonderful. Yeah, the boy is happy, walks away with three balloons. There is another man in a taxi, and he is trying to reach the hospital, but with a bag of blood, so that he can deliver it to the surgeon and save his mother. And he is stuck in traffic. What will he do? He will clear up the traffic. He will reach the hospital in time, and then he will save his mother. It's like wonderful. Now, what if there are two people equally qualified, right? And equally skilled, talented, experienced, and they're both going for the same interview. They both want to be the head of department of civil engineering, IIT, for the next 10 years and the only head of department for the next 10 years, what will you do? I will open another civil department. That's what this That's what PC told me. They said, I don't think I'll have to kill one person. I don't think this is possible. So then I told him that even if you were God, not everything can happen the way you want. And the fact is, you are not God. He understood quickly that a lot of things can happen the way he wanted, but not everything can happen the way he wanted, even if he was God. So I think if we understand this, that a lot of things can happen. We can influence people, but we cannot control them. We don't have the remote controls. We can definitely influence people positively, negatively, and a lot of things can happen our way. For instance, we can increase the probability of something happening. We can decrease the probability of something happening, but we cannot make it 0 or 1 ever, right? Always guarantee no. We can substantially influence, but cannot control things happening to us. So that gives us hope that we can do certain things. At the same time, at the back of your head, you have to have this, that not everything will always happen my way. Ever fried pakoras? Right? Do you ever do that? Okay. So you must have understood that by the time you put the batter into the oil, you have to test the temperature of the oil. Right? You dip your hand there, check how hot it is, right? So if you heat the oil way too much and fry the pakoras in very hot flame, under the hot flame, what will happen? Yeah, so the pakoras will be black. And if you fry them on a very small flame, low flame,
Yellowish.
they won't cook, right? They won't cook. In a similar way, anger is like this. There is this range of anger which is just like oil needs to be sufficiently hot and then not more than that. So it needs to be hot enough but not beyond a certain point. Similarly, when you are angry, ask yourself, how much anger is necessary to deal with this situation? And how much anger is sufficient to deal with this situation? So on a 0 to 10 scale, if 10 was you kill someone, mostly the anger between the range of 2 and 3 is necessary and sufficient to deal with day-to-day life situations. But our anger usually shoots up till 5 and 6. So tell yourself that this is not necessary. I think I would go down to 2 or 3, which is kind and firm disapproval, but this can be managed with lesser anger. The moment you start down-regulating your anger, you will be less stressed eventually. Sometimes you need to up-regulate your anger, which is it's not even sufficient to deal with the situation. So you may have to pretend that I am more angry than you are actually angry, right? So there you can get the things done. So up-regulating anger, very less needed, but down-regulating anger is something that you might want to practice. So there are many stories of Gautam Buddha because he was considered to be a very calm person, right? And then about anger, he has quite a few stories about anger. So I'm going to tell one incident where Gautam Buddha became popular very quickly, right? Because the way he was delivering discourses, people found it very intriguing and actually they could relate to what he was saying. So as you know, if somebody becomes popular, they also get enemies. And there was this particular man who got very angry because all the disciples he had shifted to Gautam Buddha, right? And then he angrily walked up to Gautam Buddha one day. He was sitting under his bodhisattva tree and delivering the discourse. And his disciple, Gautam Buddha's disciple, was there. I think his name was Arivindo or something, right? So he got up and he wanted to beat him up. Gautam Buddha signaled him, shut up, don't do anything. Let him come, let's deal with it. So he didn't do anything. This man came up angrily and started abusing Buddha. All the kinds of abuses that he could give for 2-3 minutes. And then Buddha was quite as calm as Buddha. And then this man suddenly notice this. He's not upset. That's a superpower. I abused him the worst abuses I could, and he is in front of his own disciples, and this guy is not upset. How could he do that? So he stopped suddenly and asked him, okay, I'll finish the abuses later. First tell me, how did you not get upset? And he was not pretending, he was calm. So he said, are you done? He's like, yes. So I'll tell you how not to get upset. Because he really wanted. And he asked him, Gautam Buddha said, that let's say that I'm taking a few gifts to somebody's house, and I have not yet given these gifts to the other person. Whose gifts are they? Like my gifts. And if I give it to them and they don't accept it, whose gifts are those? It's still my gifts, because they didn't accept them, right? In a similar way, whatever labels you had attached to me, I refuse to accept them. Suddenly understood that yes, when people try to put us down, unless we accept that label, we cannot get upset. So if I call you Suresh, would you get upset? It's a fact or my opinion? It's my opinion, right? So I can call anyone anything. I could call you water bottle, right? I could call you computer, but that's just my opinion, right? So anyone can think of you as anything, but that's their opinion, not a fact. If we were able to differentiate opinions from facts, we will not be so angry. I often get, during my training programs, once upon a time this happened, that one lady stood up and she said, you're a very bad trainer, I'm not liking this training. And I said, that's an interesting opinion. And she said, quickly. And she was like, oh my God, I didn't expect this reaction. But I said, can you be more specific? So she said, I expected a lot of practical training in this program and you are just lecturing. I said, ma'am, thanks for your opinion. Your opinion matters to me. And so I clarified first quickly that practice is post-lunch and pre-lunch is theory, and that was written in the description. But I said, besides your opinion, I also want to know other people's opinions. They matter to me. She said, they don't matter to me. I said, but they matter to me. And I asked people to raise their hands. How many of you think I'm a pathetic trainer and the training is bad? Nobody raised their hands. So she flushed completely. That she didn't say anything for the next 3 days. And on the last day, she came up and spoke to me in my ears. I said that publicly also. But why was I able to be calm in the situation is that I knew for sure that this was an opinion, not a fact. But if I had accepted as a fact, then I would get upset. I would try to be defensive and so on. And that would actually worsen my performance. So facts and opinions is something that we can learn from Gautam Buddha. Second feeling that we want to talk about is anxiety. Any questions on anger? I know this is not sufficient. Yes.
You talk about proportionate being an actor. Because some people very engage with this
Very good. First of all, the person themselves is the right judge to know whether this is too much or too little. But there are two clues how to know whether it's out of proportion. Number one, it is very distressing. Takleef ho rahi hai. You see that emotion as a suffering. You don't feel really good. Number two, you are doing things that are not helpful in the longer run. So let's say that I am angry and I might do things that are not helpful in the longer run. So it could be aggression, it could be passive aggression, it could be harming someone's reputation. So any action that is not helpful in the longer run, these two parameters are clear judge of whether it's out of proportion or within the proportion. Too much of distress, takleef ho rahi hai, and then you're doing things which are unhealthy in the long run. Yes.
In the moment you will not be in a position to gauge how much stress you actually are. Then you, when the incident goes over, and then you realize that is that.
But other parameters that we talked about. For example, it's impulsive, it's a knee-jerk reaction. And then usually what happens are our triggers are extremely similar across time. Like there's nothing like a new trigger comes up. So examine past incidents. That in the last incident when similar things happened, was my anger proportionate or not proportionate? So during anger, maybe it's not time because there is a specific reason why that happens. Our amygdala or the limbic system gets hijacked, and then critical thinking gets blocked completely. So you won't be able to understand during the episode of anger whether it's healthy or unhealthy. So then, absolutely. So gussa akal ko kha jata is a very common saying. So during anger, it's impossible, nearly impossible to assess whether this is really too much or too little. But every time after the episode, then you can decide that this anger was a little too much. And if these triggers are predictable, which they are usually very, very predictable, they happen at a specific time, you can decide to have a specific reaction, that I'm going to have a more proportionate reaction this time. Imagine like you go home and you know the house is in a mess, right? You know that the maid did not come without informing. These are some predictable things, right? So you decide that next time this is going to happen, I will have this reaction. So that reaction could be behavioral reaction, I'm going to do this, and I will have an emotional reaction which is between 1 and 2, right? Not 4 and 5. So if you decide initially, then it's much easier. Yes, please.
Usually, if somebody is criticizing, so I mean, one could say that that is the person who is criticizing is, correct or something. But that depends upon the person. The person is sensitive or thick-skinned. So, does it mean that being thick-skinned is good, but not accepting the criticism?
No, very good question. Criticism. Let's look at criticism from a flowchart point of view. The criticism could be true or false, right? And there could be a partially true. So how to process criticism? It is false, then delete it. Right? You can simply say that that's an interesting point of view. However, I disagree with it. Right? You can simply delete it. If it is true, then pass it through another filter. What is it? Is it a behavioral deficit? Am I doing something or not doing something? Right? Is it a knowledge deficit? Is it a skill deficit? Or is it a resource deficit? Right? Somebody criticizes you. Is knowledge lacking? Is some kind of practice skill lacking? Is some resource lacking? Or is it a specific skill, resource, knowledge and behavior? Am I doing or not doing something? If there is nothing like this, then you can simply say that the behavior, the criticism is false. If you pass this filter, then remove the labels that the other person has attached to you. Removing labels. And if this can be corrected, and if you want to correct it, then act on it. Partially true. Say for instance, somebody says that Shishir, you are a very bad trainer. I would ask, can you be a little more specific? And the person would say, let's say that they give a specific answer, that you move too much on the stage. Now this is a behavior or skill or knowledge. What? It's a behavior, right? So do I agree with it? I may take a consensus of 20 people that is it really true that this is a problematic behavior? And then I may thank the person, thank you so much for this feedback, and I may act on it, right? If somebody says you are a very bad trainer, and I ask, can you be more specific? It's like you can't make sushi. That's true, I can't make sushi. Do I want to work on it? No. So I don't want to work on it. Even if it is true, I don't want to work on it. So this way we can process a true criticism, whether I want to work on it or no, then remove the labels. Bad grammar is the label I remove, but there are some unhelpful behaviors I might be doing, and that can be removed if I want to. So then act on it, thank the person, go ahead. Partially true are where somebody picks up a truth about you and then adds negative statements which are opinions. Let's say that you are wearing a shirt that has black color, right? Let's say that you're wearing a trouser that's black color. Black is a very bad color. You are a negative person. Now what did I do here? I attached one fact that cannot be refuted. And then I sandwiched my opinion along with it. So be very careful about this. Is true or partially true. So you can simply say that I agree with your first fact that I am wearing a black trouser, but I disagree with your second opinion. Right? So this way, but people are smart in criticizing. They may bring up one incident that is true and cannot be refuted, and then add on another thing because you swallow the bitter pill with the sugary coating. So partially true also, you may simply agree and disagree with both of them. False to simply delete it. And after you have processed this criticism, close the chapter. Do not keep dwelling on it. If you are dwelling on it, then probably it comes from self-doubt that somebody criticized me and they absolutely shouldn't criticize me, say something about me and so on. Right? Alright, so time for a quick break. So we'll take a quick 2-minute break, bio break to 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and continue with the rest of the session. Okay.